7 o'clock. Okay. Welcome everybody to our July meeting, and I'd like to first of all do acknowledgement of country, and I'll just remind everybody that we are currently being recorded. Council would like to acknowledge and pay its respects to the First Peoples of the River Murray and Mallee region, who are the traditional custodians of this land. Council would also like to pay its respects to elders past and present and recognise and respect their culture, heritage, beliefs and relationships with this land on which we meet. If you could all put your mics to mute so that we don't get into interference that we had on Thursday night last week, which I apologise for. But anyway, not to worry. Special welcome to Stephen Whitehead. He's not on mine at the moment, but he must be in there. Oh, yes, there he is. Welcome, Stephen, to Renmark Premier Council and our community, and I hope you enjoy your stay here with us.
Thank you.
Apology is Councillor Sim Simali, who has special leave of absence. Members' declaration of interest. We have, just bear with me for a minute. We have 4. We have Councillor Daru, Councillor Maddox, Councillor Howie, and Councillor Sims. And they've all advised advised Julie that they've filled out the respective forms for the declaration of interest when it comes up. Deputation, obviously, Neil.
Excuse me a moment. Sorry, excuse me a moment, Your Worship. Yep. I've also got 2 conflicts that I've acknowledged as well.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep. All right. You've got those, Jules, I take it. What were they for, Tim?
That was, as I'm a member of the Renmark Rowing Club, with 2 items relating to the rowing club tonight, one for decision and one for information. I intend to remain in the chamber, but not be involved in the discussion in regard to the item. And for that matter as well, the CEO will be presenting them, and I haven't actually been involved in the preparation of those items internally either.
All right. Thanks, Tim, for that one. Deputation said deputation to Neil, and obviously questions from the gallery. Neil, we have, and Jules, you need to slow me down if I get too fast for you. Okay, thank you. I got a thumbs up there. Okay. Motion of item 7, motion of condolence. Someone prepared to move that acknowledge following the recent deceased persons and formally record a motion of sympathy and condolence to the respective families. Councillor Maddox is moving it. Councillor Howie is seconding it. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's carried. Thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of June 2021. Someone prepared to move the minutes be received and confirmed. Councillor Spano is moving it. Got a seconder? No, we might as well all go home if no one's going to second it. Councillor Townsend seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Just got to move my head around the screen, that's all. Business arising from those minutes, anybody may have, that's not being fixed up or being discussed tonight. No business arising. Confirmation of the special meeting held on the 24th of June. Someone prepared to move that they be received and confirmed. Councillor Daru and Councillor Howie seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Question, business arising from those minutes?
Obviously, you're not seeing Councillor Sims because he keeps putting his hand up, but you're not acknowledging him.
No, I've got him down there, but I can't see his hand going up. Put your hand up, Dave. Ben, just to say hello. No, still can't see your hand. There it is. I got it now. Thanks, Ben. The obviously hand was only going up halfway, Ben. I didn't pick it up. Right, we did those special minutes. Business arising from those special minutes.
David's microphone is not working.
David, your microphone. All right, seems I've lost you on my screen. You there, David? You must be mute, David. No, he was there originally. Well, can you give him a ring, Tony, just to see if because he was there initially. It came on screen that he was there. I know David Sims has left, so just we need to record that, Jules. He was there initially. Okay, there's no business arising from those special minutes. I need a mover and a seconder for the special meeting held on the 22nd of July, which was our annual report and our budget. Someone prepared to move those minutes? Councillor Daru and Councillor Townsend. All those in favour? All those in favour? Peter? You move.
Question?
Yes, okay, question?
Can we just clarify what we're actually approving? Is it the special council 24th of June?
No, we've done that one.
Okay, I don't have one after that in my minutes, my agenda.
No, it's not on the agenda. It's a special meeting. It was Thursday last week. The budget meeting, which has gone out to everybody. Julie, you respond there?
So it's not on the agenda, but we're approving it, are we?
Yes, we've done that before.
I don't,
Okay.
Yes, the minutes went out. Ash sent them out last Thursday, I think, or no, Friday.
Friday, I think it was.
Yeah, and in that email, it did say, I think it said that these minutes will be tabled. Those minutes will be tabled at this meeting.
All right. I've got a mover and a seconder for the special council special meeting on the 22nd of July. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much. Business arising from those minutes? Anybody got any business arising from those minutes at all?
can I ask whether that's legal if it's not on the agenda? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, you have other reports come in.
We've got the minutes, but it's not on the agenda. And was it put on the agenda for the general public?
It would be on the website, Jules. Yep, Jules, give me a nod on that one. Yep. No, I've accepted the minutes of that meeting. I'm asking now if business arising from those minutes. There being none. Questions with notice? Anybody got any questions with notice? Oh, there's no questions with notice. Questions without notice. Anybody got any questions without notice? That's a no. Notice of motions are nil. Minutes and recommendations for council committees, and that's receiving the minutes and recommendations of the council committees for the policy review committee. Page 23. And that is for the recommendations number 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Someone prepared to move that those recommendations from that meeting be received. Councillor Howie is moving it. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Townsend. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Anybody get questions of those minutes, actually? Councillor Hunter?
Just to note that I was unable to access some of those through Docs on Tap. It may well be my iPad issue. I did talk to Julie about it. I'm not sure what it is, but I was unable to access some of those. So nothing to be done about it for now.
Did you get the minutes anyway, or by hard copy or anything from Jules?
No, I kept trying and in the end didn't get them. So it doesn't matter. I don't recall anything massive. I just wanted to check my notations on my copy, if you like, of that agenda. But that's okay.
Can you send out a copy of those minutes to Councillor Hunter, please, Jules?
No, I don't need the minutes. It was
Sorry?
my notations on the agenda were not available to me. You know, when you go back and
Oh,
you pick
okay,
up
sorry.
your comments
Right, your comments you made. Yeah, I'm with you.
to raise at this point. So they weren't available to me, but it could be my iPad from my chats with Julie.
All
Yeah,
the agenda and minutes are all on our website. If you can't find them on Docs on Tab, you should be able to access it through the website.
But it's my
Okay.
notations on that I'm chasing, Julie, not the formal agenda nor formal minutes. That was all.
Yeah, it's the notations that Peter made on his iPad, which don't come up.
I don't have that.
No.
Did you have something, Tim, there or not? Tim?
Sorry, Your Worship, I thought we were talking about something else there in regard to a minor other ICT issue we've had today with a few links not working within the agenda for this evening. But sorry, I was under the wrong impression. I thought we were talking about something else.
That's all right, no problems. Okay, so there's no other questions on that policy review committee recommendations. Elected members report. Someone prepared to move the elected members reports be received. Councillor Hunter's moving it. Councillor Howie seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Any questions of those elected members reports on page 86? That's a no. No late reports. Just on those reports, was going to be that the report on the journaliser was going to come forward for the special for the confidential meeting, but Tony's advised that they are now not available, and we intend to try and hold a special meeting, particularly for that report, possibly Tuesday next week, Tony. But I think did we alter the policy meeting for next week because of Stephen coming in or not?
So through the chair, Mr. Mayor, yes, I believe we did. So I am looking to hold, looking to ask you to hold a special meeting of council next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock.
All right. Everybody available for that one at this stage, which you'll get a notice for when the report goes out as well. Yep, no objections there, but looks of that. So I'll give you a letter to that effect, Tony, tomorrow or the next day.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
CEO's report. Tony, over to you. 14.1, page 89.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So report 14.1 talks about lot 467 New Landing Way, formerly the Tower Tavern site. I have brought this to elected members' attention before, but I'm looking for some formal direction. The site is currently zoned tourist development. It is a bit of an anomaly and no longer relevant really because the Tower Tavern is no longer there. All the other land around it is zoned neighbourhood. The land has been subdivided into 7 urban allotments, and the market is essentially telling us that the zoning is an issue. There's been quite a few approaches for this land, some of them from interstate, but a lot of people balking at buying this land because of the tourism development zone of that piece of land. A couple other things for elected members to note. If we were to change the zoning to neighbourhood zone, that doesn't prohibit consideration of a tourist development on any of those 7 pieces of land. That would be considered as a performance assessed basis. We have examples of neighbourhood zone that has tourist developments. A good example is on James Avenue where there's several. Also, we're not really sure because we haven't undertaken the code amendment process to date. We believe it should be considered under the fast track provisions. Whether that's the case or not, I suppose we won't know until we formally approach Department of Audit. And I suppose the other thing to consider is in the longer term, amendments to what we class as our development plan or the code should be done through the Riverland Regional Plan that we will have to form when we form a joint planning board. But this I see as quite important that council consider it. Other amendments we can consider when we form that Riverland Regional Plan. So my recommendation is on page 89 that we seek to undertake a code amendment process for that parcel of land. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, questions of Tony at all? Councillor Hunter?
Yes, my only concern, which I've spoken to the CEO and yourself about, is that it was spoken that this particular land, there was a high need for high level tourist accommodation, and this would help to fill that gap that was revisited on many occasions. I'm not necessarily against the change, but I wouldn't mind a comment on whether that situation's changed.
So through the chair, I'd say, Councillor Hunter, the market isn't dictating that. The market is more there for residential land, and I think that land is quite attractive. There's nothing, as I mentioned before, nothing detracts from that being performance assessed, any of those 7 parcels of land. The same as what you have on James Avenue. So if someone wanted to purchase a piece of that land, it was zoned neighbourhood zone and they wanted it to be a tourist development, that could be performance assessed and considered. But it's sort of around the wrong way at the moment because the market is showing that people are interested in that for residential purposes and being scared off because of the limitations for it being zoned tourist accommodation.
And just one thing on that, Peter, just bearing that in mind, that's been zoned, that zone tourist development ever since Channelizer was established, and obviously no one has come in there to pick that up at all in that light. Yes, Pete, Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, accept, understand all of that. Thank you. The question is still about the need for high level 5, 4-star, whatever accommodation in a tourist sector. Is that still a high need in Remuera? I guess that's the core of where I'm coming from. I accept the rest of it. The market's saying that. I understand. It's been there historically. Understand. Just on that tourism basis for us into the future.
I'll look through the chair. I suppose I would see that as something potentially could be considered as the next stage of the Channelizer. At the moment, the priority is residential development. Like that's in the last 12 months. Yeah, I think the market has increased by 45%. We're struggling severely with residential land, available residential land. And I think this piece of land has had between 30 and 40 approaches, a lot of them from interstate, none of them for tourist accommodation to my knowledge, but a lot of them for high class residential development. Some of those approaches, people have actually gone and purchased other properties within our council area. So I think at the moment we're severely constrained in terms of our residential offerings or rural living for that matter. So I think that is the priority for council and essentially our community for growth.
There is one accommodation place within Remuera, well, probably one of at least 4.5 to 5-star over towards Lirrup, and another one in Paringa that's probably 5 to 6-star. And I don't believe that they are at 100% occupation ever since they were actually constructed. So, I mean, you can take that on face value. I mean, you've got to have someone that's prepared to do that as well, which is a considerable outlay for someone to put that high style accommodation into the area. Any other questions, Councillor Hunter?
Not on that one, no.
Councillor Dury?
Yeah, just a comment and sort of a query around that whole rezoning thing. I'm totally for this to happen, and it'd be interesting to see if this streamlined process that you're talking about, CEO, whether that's going to come and work in this particular case. One of the things that I've observed over years in Renmark is several properties being sold under a zoning specific title, and then as soon as they're sold, they've been broken up into residential, which, you know, good luck to the purchaser, but it does act to the detriment of the owner of that piece of land. So it's just interesting with this one, you know, it was sold at a price, and the guy who's got it now is going to make a premium, which is great. Good luck to him. Take my head off to him, and I fully support the decision. But it'd just be nice to know if we are identifying other blocks of land around the place that potentially need rezoning. I know there's some that we're working on out of town, but whether there is other areas in the township that we need to have a look at. Thanks.
Councillor Dury, you mentioned that he'll make a premium on the sale, but he also bought the land on a premium of $900,000 for a block of land. Any response there?
Yeah, I understand that.
I'll look through the chair.
But I think
Yeah, through the chair, Mr. Mayor. Look, I suppose my response is really, as I mentioned about the regional plan, we haven't done a code amendment or the old development plan amendment. We haven't done one for approximately 5 years. A lot's changed in our community in the last 5 years. To try and do a code or a development plan amendment before the code coming in was just impossible. The focus of DIT was in rolling out their portal and the new code, which has been a massive change. Now, I'm hopeful that the fast track provisions can be used. I'm not convinced that they will be, but in terms of the Riverland Regional Plan, that's something that we need to start working on in the second half of this year. And I know in talking to the other two councils, they both have zoning issues as well. We all have land constraint issues. I think that's Australia-wide. But the long-term answer to that is essentially having our own destiny with developing the Riverland plan through a joint planning board. Does that answer your question, Councillor Drew?
I've lost you off my screen because David Sims, Councillor Sims has just now come on board. So can you give us a voice,
Yeah,
Henry?
I'm still here. So, look, I wasn't really putting it up as a question. It's just more of a interest based comment in the fact that this sort of thing has happened previously. And it'd just be good to know if this new planning code is going to help these sort of things become a lot more available and easier to do, you know, because there's obviously these other blocks that we've been working on for years have been 4 years. And now if there's an opportunity that that can be rezoning in a quicker and more efficient way, well, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for those people that are holding those parcels of land, and gets rid of a lot of the grey area around that. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Drew. Jules, can you just note that Councillor Sims has come on board again, please? Just need to let me know that if you're going out of the room, just give us a hoy so that we can record the minutes appropriately.
I've been here the whole time, Neil.
Oh, have you, Dave? Oh, okay.
Yep.
We called out to you. Sorry, we didn't get a response, so you must have been on mute.
Oh, I dropped out for 5 seconds, but I've been here for most of it.
No worries. Okay. Just one clarification, Tony, that council will be paying for this code amendment process.
Through the chair, yes, Mr. Mayor. Now, if it's through the fast track provisions, I would suggest that that's really, we're going to be able to handle that internally. If it's not, and there is going to be, you know, considerable expense to council, I'll bring the matter back. Okay,
thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we've got a recommendation there that council seek to undertake a code amendment process to rezone allotment 467 New Landing Way from tourist development to neighbourhood zone. Someone prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Maddox is moving it. Councillor Howie is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 14.2.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, as the Director of Corporate and Community mentioned earlier, he has a perceived conflict of interest on this matter. Hence why I'm introducing it. I don't sit on the grants assessment panel. However, these are the recommendations from that panel. 3 elected members do. So look, if they want to jump in and make any comment about some of the recommendations, it is within the budget that we've set for the 21-22 in our annual business plan. The recommendations are there. So I'm in your hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any questions from elected members? Councillor Howie.
My question is, what is the budget
For event sponsorship?
for the events grants?
Timothy?
Look, through the chair, Councillor Howie, I'm going to have to take that on notice. I don't know exactly what it is. Obviously, the report says that it's within that budget. I'm happy to provide that to all elected members once I've taken that on notice.
I think a total amount would have been would have been in the annual business plan of last week anyway. Councillor
No.
Howie?
Not specifically, I don't think.
No, there would have been an item there for it. Anyway, Tim will take that on board and get back to you on that one. But it's within budget that we set on Thursday last week. Okay, so I had a mover and seconder there, Jules, didn't I? I didn't. Okay, mover and seconder that council endorsed recommendation to the grants assessment panel for the 2021-22 event sponsorship funding program. Councillor Hunter is moving it. Councillor Sims is seconding it. All those in favour? Alan? Yeah, that's carried. Thanks, everybody. That's it, Tony.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will make some comments around my journaliser report in the confidential section, given that will be a confidential report next Tuesday. I'll just brief elected members on that later on. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tony. Over to you, Tim. Isn't it wonderful just to have one Tim in the room?
It's a novelty.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members, this is my one and only decision item for this evening in regard to donations. So members, we had a grants assessment panel meeting a few weeks ago, which the CEO referred to a moment ago. I wasn't personally present at that meeting, but we did have the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hunter there, who may wish to be able to add a little bit more colour to what the discussion was and what the recommendation was from that panel meeting. Members, we had were considering, or the grants assessment panel, I should say, was considering.
Lost it.
Sorry,
Just
am I
lost
back?
it there, Tim.
Am I back now?
Yeah, to me.
Yep.
Yeah, go on.
Yep, excellent. Apologies for that. I'm not sure why I dropped out for a second. Members, the grants assessment panel met a couple of weeks ago and they made a number of recommendations in regard to community sponsorships for out of the bucket, which they're entitled to do so. Those recommendations are actually covered, or weren't recommendations. The panel's actually got decision-making capability for community sponsorships. So those decisions are within, or a record of those decisions are within my information only report at the end of this meeting this evening. However, there was two recommendations in regard to donations, and including two extra entities on our donations list. So the first one being Country Arts SA for $2,600 to support their ambassador program, and specifically in regard to their Nunga Screen event. And the second being the Riverland Christmas Appeal for $2,000 to support the preparation of hampers for underprivileged families at Christmas time. Now, the only side note to that one was that the panel endorsed a $2,000 grant in the new financial year, but is recommending an ongoing donation for future years. So the recommendation includes, or the recommended motion is to actually adjust the policy, and reason being is because the actual grant recipients are listed, and for the amount that they're listed, for the amount that they are to receive, is also listed within the policy. So I hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor, for any questions or comments.
Okay, so it's not actually new grants. The money is going from one bucket of the community grants into the donations, so that it's on, because they have been ongoing for many, many years. We wanted to change that into the donation section of the community grant, if that makes sense. Councillor Howie?
My question is with the Country Arts. I'm just wondering how many bites of the cherry they get. We've just given them $10,000 in our budget last week, and you know, it was raised that we also support them in other ways, like the car park and other sort of things like that. And then we're still, now we've got another, I mean, it's only 2,600, but it just seems to me that it's constantly putting their hand to the Renmark Karinga Council for support and donations when it's actually the state government that should be supporting and providing more support.
Yeah, we did have a good discussion about this with our committee, but this is we've been contributing money to the Country Arts SA for Chavey Theatre for some time, as in cooperation with the car park as well. And I just felt that because it's been ongoing for such a long time, that it should be brought into the donation section, whereby that gets reviewed after the next council. The donations are there for 4 years, and they're reviewed after the next council election to be determined whether they continue on with that ongoing funding or not. I know what you're saying, but yeah, council is a sponsor to the Chavey Theatre, and we get our name up on the screen when they come out with their promotions when you attend functions there as well. Okay, any other comments? Councillor Simms.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to confirm, when you're saying these are ongoing, it's going to be ongoing, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, just until the next election for both of these, the Christmas Bill and Country Arts SA. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. Yep. And the idea for that is that they know that they've got that ongoing commitment for the 4 years, and that it's up for review again. If the council wants to continue on that program, then that's up to them, or they can adjust them depending on what the meeting, how the council feels about it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, there's a recommendation there that council endorses the inclusion of Country Arts SA, Chavey Theatre and the Riverland Christmas Appeal into the donation sections of the community grants policy for the following amounts of Country Arts SA, Chavey Theatre, 2,600, and the Riverland Christmas Appeal for 2,000. Someone prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Hunter's moving it. Councillor Maddox is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Right, thanks. Nothing else, Tim?
No, that's all from me, Your Worship, tonight.
Right, Director of Infrastructure and Environmental Services. Now, Stephen, are you happy to follow up with this, or do you want Tony to deal with that?
No, I'm happy to present this.
All right, thanks very much. Over to you.
All right, so we've got the first report here is about the sale of road reserve on Old Cooltong Avenue. Now, the landowner of Section 19 Old Cooltong Avenue has approached council with a request to purchase land because he has development vines that have encroached on council land into the road reserve. And he's approached council to see if he can purchase that section of land where his encroachment is, with offered to pay a fair price as valued, and with him engaging the valuer to obtain the fair value and then negotiate the agreement with council to purchase that land. So yeah, that would bring that boundary in line with neighbouring boundaries by purchasing that section of land, which is an area of approximately 4,400 square metres.
So can you clarify, Stephen, on page 170 of the agenda, the section of the green lines that are on my coloured map, and then there's the yellow dotted line on the road reserve. Can you clarify?
Right. Yep. So the green line is the existing boundary, and the yellow line is the proposed alteration to the boundary. So between that yellow line and the green line will be the section that will be purchased from council.
Right. So the other green lines around the houses are existing boundaries.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That's a strange one, that one. Anyway. All right. Any comments to Stephen? It's pretty straightforward. The person's requested the tidy up of that piece of land and is prepared to pay all costs and the fees as well. Councillor Townsend, you're moving it?
No, just a question quickly.
Yep.
Just on the picture, the neighbouring driveway looks like it runs through that. Is that going to impact anything with that? Because at the moment it would be going to a road reserve, but with a boundary change.
It appears No, it appears that that yellow line is extended down through the grey line. Can you see the grey line through there?
Yeah,
That appears to be the property boundary of the bottom section on the right-hand side.
The house on the top side of where that green line is, at the moment, looks like a driveway comes out into what is the existing road reserve.
Well, that's,
Will be private property.
well, he's on, yeah, that's on council land. Part of his driveway is on council land anyway. So,
Yeah.
but no, that's not going to affect him at all. There'll be no fences or whatever there, so it's it'll be his property, so it shouldn't be an issue. All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, there's a recommendation there, 1, 2, and 3 of that report. Councillor Hunter, you're moving it. Councillor Hunter's moving it. Councillor Sims has seconded it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, number Renmark Riverfront Lighting Project.
so that is to do with projects that are delayed and looking at carrying those forward to complete in the 2021-22 financial year. So it's the Renmark Riverfront Lighting and the Lyric Courts resurfacing projects. The Renmark Riverfront Lighting project was due to be completed by the 30th of June 2021. However, there's been several delays with approvals and materials. So it's expected works will commence there by the end of July. But we're requesting that one be carried over into the next financial year. And the Lyric Courts resurfacing project has also had some delays. The surfacing has been completed, but there's still some fittings to be purchased and installed, such as fencing, tennis nets, and netball rinks. So once again, that is expected to be completed in the next financial year, but by September 2021.
Yeah, probably won't be able to answer this one, but yeah, we did carry over a lot of projects for the formal motion, so obviously these two must have been missed in that previous minute. Any questions at all? Councillor Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the analysis, you've got that it's mentioned that where I've lost a spot now. Is 100% externally funded. Is that just for the Lyric Court, or is that both projects? It's 100% externally funded.
No, this is some of the drought money, I think, Tony. Is that right?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll help out here. That's drought funding.
For both projects?
Both projects are drought funded projects. The reason why they weren't included in the initial carryover works is we did think that they'd be completed by the end of July. And yeah, majority of the courts at Lyric are done. There was just some delays, you know, and people are experiencing delays with all projects at the moment. So hence why we're just making sure that those funds are still committed in this financial year.
Thanks, Tony. Councillor Howard, did you have something? No? Okay, the recommendation there is pretty straightforward. Someone prepared to move it. Councillor Sims is moving it. Councillor Townsend is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Anything else, Tim? No, not Tim. Anything else, Stephen?
No, that's all for the moment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And yeah, good luck with the job that you've taken on.
Thanks.
Okay. Infrastructure. Start again. Information reports. Tony, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have anything I want to highlight in my information only reports. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Now, 17.1.3, the Renmark Rowing Club. Maria, Councillor Spanner. I've lost you on my screen.
Yes, am I here? Can you see me?
Yep, you're right. Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about all this with the rowing club, how they mentioned the next to the church, the where are we?
Jarrett Gardens Memorial.
Yeah, the Jarrett Memorial Gardens, and yeah, it says where is it here? Over the years, the vacant available land at Jane Eliza has reduced due to the ongoing housing construction. Now, to me, they had the Tower Tavern there before, so how can it be reduced? Because it's the same as it always was, that land.
I agree with that. That's just a way that they've worded, I suppose. The second part, second sentence is probably more important, Maria.
Yeah. Now, the regatta is currently staged Jane Eliza. Now, the Renmark Council vision for the future, the rowing club, is to move the regatta closer to the town and boat shed and have the race finished at the newly constructed deck at the Taylor River Precinct, which for me, I mean, if there's 2,000 people in this rowing regatta, there's going to be a lot of people sort of going there, and there's parking, and then it says about the Jared Memorial Gardens that where is that one? I should have had it lined up, shouldn't I? The Pringa, the Strategic Rowing Club, associated growth.
Basically, it was the use of the Jarrett Memorial Gardens.
Yes, is what I want to know, what they want to do with that.
And as I did mention to Councillor Spano, that obviously the rowing club will need to come back to us and let us know what they intend to do, because that hasn't been finalised at all. But we did have, when we had our meeting there, they talked about using the Taylor Riverfront wharf as a finishing line, and I don't think at the time anybody had any issues with that. Obviously, you don't want 2,000 people walking around in the Taylor precinct area, because it's just, you weren't going to fit them in for a start. But I think obviously they're looking for putting marquees probably in the Jarrett Gardens for spectators to be housed up, ready to go for the next race, which will still be north of the Jarrett Gardens anyway.
Yeah, I just think it should be explained a bit more what exactly, and there is a church there, and it's on a weekend, isn't it? There's a church, so it's whether that will, you know, while church is going and things like that, I don't know. I just feel that coming into town more is going to, I mean, and there's a lot of houses around Jared Memorial Gardens too, isn't there?
No, well, it's a huge weekend anyway, regardless of where you have it. And I have mentioned that we should be trying to get the trailers for the rowing, for the boats to be put down in the council depot in Cowra Street. We did do that, I think, one year, but I don't think it's been done since that time. So to me, that's a handy place to get rid of the trailers off the roads and off in the Jane Eliza area anyway. So yeah, it's gonna, the rowing club will need to come back to council to let us know what they intend to do.
Yeah, because I think, you know, with the parking situations and things we've got, if it's going to come more into town, it's going to be more of a hassle, I think. But anyway, if they can come back with a bit more before we decide to do anything.
Councillor Howie?
Firstly, in regard to the Tower, when they've had the regatta there at the Tower Tavern, when there was a Tower Tavern, there was a lot of land there as well. I mean, they only had the tavern and then they've all that space that's now there. And then in previous, since Don has purchased that land, he's been very kind enough to let them use that to put their trailers and that. This year, I believe they're going to put their trailers in the council yard because they can't put it where they have before. The other thing is that the 2,000 people are normally spread right across the front of the houses where we are at the moment. And that's just going to happen the same, except it'll be closer along the Jared Memorial Gardens. And their biggest problem at the moment is parking. And I've been lucky enough to use the RIT lawned area on, what is it, 9th Street?
Yes.
9th Street for parking, and everybody has to walk to the sites. And I'm imagining that that's probably another ideal parking place because they'll just walk the other way. instead of walking there. So I think that the idea of bringing it into the town will be a much better idea. And for one thing, it'll be great for the shops because there's a lot of females, and there'll be, you know, might be some the town centre might gain a little bit more coverage as well. So I'm all for it personally myself. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify just those few things.
To me, the issue is the same issue that we had in the Jane Eliza, where parking is absolute premium. When they park along the streets, it's going to get relocated to a different position. But yeah, when you look at it, it's one weekend in every 2 years, and the economic benefit to the shops and whatever in our community is quite significant. So I don't think it'll be a hassle. But yeah, I agree that the Rowing Club will need to get back to us just to give us an idea of what they would like us to consider in relation to the Jarrett Memorial Gardens. Okay, any other questions of Tony? Someone prepared to move Tony's report be received? Councillor Maddox, Councillor Townsend. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Director of Corporate and Community Services information reports. Tim, any questions, any things you want to highlight there at all?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will only very briefly. So firstly, as I mentioned before, there's the information only report in relation to the outcome of the Grants Assessment Panel's deliberations, which is the first one there being 17.2.1. The other one, look, there's quite a lot of quarterly reports we've got this time around from my division. The one that I do want to actually point out to members is probably an unusual one for me to be pointing out, and that's our Work Health Safety Quarterly Report. Now, often with WHS, there's not a lot to celebrate. There's not a lot to really take that much notice of. However, I would like to just highlight and celebrate as well, Your Worship, the fact that we've had a full financial year with 0 lost time injuries, which is, I know it's probably not the sexiest of stories, but we work really, really hard on our work health safety, and to have a full year with 0 injuries is fantastic. You know, we have ramped up our reporting in terms of hazards and everything, and the result of that really speaks for itself. So we never rest on our laurels. We keep working and we keep pushing hard and making sure that, you know, we're striving every day to maintain that record. But you know, a full year with none is great, and similarly, obviously, no work cover claims either.
All right, thank you. Councillor Howie.
A couple of questions on there. Yes, I noticed there no lost workhouse. There's 2 little things that I picked up. Is in the financial year, just the hazards and near misses. In April, there was 7. Was that something? Was it 7 people fell over at the one time, or was it just because of Easter, or was there a reason for just so many hazards on that, just that 1 month, where, you know, looking even back further, it seems to be, yeah, that's just a question. And the other question is that with the claims data, is that public, that's the community claims, like the public claiming for tripping over a thing or whatever? And if so, I noticed that there were 72 total claims, but the biggest one was, I hardly read it, traumatic joint ligament and muscle. Is that from people tripping over pavers or things like that?
Your Worship, I'll take both of those questions separately. Look, through Your Worship, Councillor Howie, I can't actually recall back in April. I recall there being a number of hazards notified within the system. I can't remember the specific details of all 7. From recollection, I think it was just a bit of a fluke that they all happened, you know, in fairly quick succession. Now, obviously, you know, acknowledging a hazard is actually a pretty good thing from a WHS perspective, because you want to be finding your hazards, because if you're finding your hazards, then usually it means that you're not actually, they're not resulting in injuries. So it's not a bad thing to have a high hazard report number and a low injury number. However, yeah, I can't recall the specific details. From recollection, I think it was just a fluke that we had a few come in at the same time. In regard to your second question for the claims data, again, I'll have to have another look back at that, but my recollection is that that is just staff claims.
So there was no rumours that Easter Bunny had trouble getting up the steps of the council chambers and his followers. Might have tripped over something there. Okay, any other questions of Tim? Councillor Hunter?
Thank you. Just to thank staff for those quarterly reports. I think the data that's there is really important for us to glance out and have this discussion we're having right now, which we didn't not that long ago. So I really appreciate the reports that are coming through now. There's a very, very large number of little mini courses and things that people are doing on page 152, 153. That must be incredibly difficult to track. And I guess they sign off that they've watched it once or whatever it might be. Are those repeated every couple of years or such? How does the cycle of that works is my first question.
Tim?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Councillor Hunter, yeah, really good question. And yes, you can see that obviously, maintaining safety within an organisation does take an extraordinary volume of resource. We do need a number of those trainings and the like, and inductions and everything. A lot of them are mandatory, depending on the specific role. We have a internal system which is put out by the Local Government Risk Services. It's a system called SkyTrust, and basically it tracks who hasn't done various inductions and when they have or haven't done them. Now, for that matter as well, absolutely, these things are repeated every couple of years, depends on the cycle that particular item is on. But similarly, like especially for staff to read and acknowledge policies and procedures, most of those are on about a 2-yearly cycle, so they have to get rechecked every so often. So yeah, I think, does that answer your question, Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, I think so. They need to be revisited at some point in time, but it also shows the enormity of the task of work health and safety and how council is meeting it. So it was a positive, as well as a question about how in the heck you keep those sorts of things up to date. My second question relates to the Belgravia report, which is obviously skewed around massively around COVID. But page 147, I guess, is the good news in terms of the 24/7 and the increase in numbers, which is actually pretty pleasing for them. But once again, just to thank staff for the quarterly reports, the data that they're based on is a significant improvement for us as a council. So thank you.
Councillor Howie?
Is that, so do we have do we keep a record of claims that the public make to council on things that happen to them? Like I had one I think she was going to report it, her tripping and cutting her hand on a paver. So do we keep a list of what they are, and if so, can we have a report on them as well?
They're public liability, and they're not OHS. WHS.
Public liability, but it's still more reporting. Like as Councillor Hunter was saying, the reports we're getting now are fabulous. We weren't getting those 2 years ago, so it's really great to see. And of course, but it'd be also interesting to see how much our public liability claims, whether they are claims or just a report of a trip and there's no claim, just to see how we're travelling as well with our general public.
Tim?
Through you, Your Worship, Councillor Howie, we don't, if it's an insurance claim, often we don't see it. That will go straight through to Local Government Risk Services as our insurer. However, having said that, there's sometimes Local Government Risk Services after a claim's been lodged, they will come to us and say, hey, we think you might have an infrastructure issue here in regard to a pavement issue or whatever it may be. They may come to us and say, hey, we've had this claim. We think you need to look further at this. Similarly, you know, if it's just a very minor bump or bruise that someone's had as a result of our infrastructure, often we will have a phone call or an email or something come through to us. But that's typically the only way that we find out about the insurance claims as such.
All right, thank you there. Any other questions of Tim at all? Okay, someone prepared to move that the Director of Corporate and Community Services information report be received. Councillor Hunter is moving it. Councillor Daru is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Director of Infrastructure and Environmental Services, over to you, Stephen.
There's 2 reports there. I might just briefly flag the second one of those, just to mention that the Old Renmark High School tank remediation, probably worth noting because it's been through council before. So there was a resolution in March council meeting, the council write to the Department of Education advising that the underground tank was dangerous and a risk to public safety, and that the Department of Education take action to ensure the site is safe. So subsequent investigations have found that that land is actually under council's care and control, not the Department for Education. So our staff undertook a risk assessment and determined that it is a risk to safety. The roof of the tanks need to be removed, and the plan is to backfill those tanks as an urgent action to take away that public safety risk. So we've had quotes from local contractors and we're ready to undertake those works in August.
So was it worth putting security fencing around the area for the time being, Stephen?
Well, there is fencing around it. It's fairly dilapidated, but it's enough to hold for until that work's completed.
All right, thank you. Anything else you want to highlight?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right, questions of Stephen? Someone prepared to move that the Director of Infrastructure and Environmental Services report be received. Councillor Maddocks is moving it. Councillor Howie is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much. Motions without notice. Any motions without notice? That being a nil. No general business because nothing's been listed on the agenda at all. Matters for consideration in confidence, and we have a confidential report there. So I'm looking for someone to move that we go into confidence in accordance with that recommendation. Councillor Hunter's moving it. Councillor Sims has seconded it. All those in favour? That's carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Hugh, if you're still there.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for having me.
All right, Tony, obviously we'll be talking to Tony later on, but I think tomorrow will be pretty busy with staff coming back. So you need to with Tony.
Let me know if you guys need anything, but yeah, stay safe and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Hugh.
Have a good night.